Thank you very much, Nancy, for your willingness to talk about your process. And it's such an important process, the one of going through your dying. So, if you would just say some words about where you are.
Okay. I, a long time ago, well, actually, it's probably several months ago, I was on several kinds of chemo and none of it was working. I stayed in stage four for ever. I never got out of stage four. And then I tried a trial drug, and when the trial didn't work, I decided I didn't want to try more chemo and feel bad when I was feeling really good. So I elected not to do any more chemo and feel good for the rest of my life. And then I had to start the letting go of, well, this is healing, or is this healing, or what is it? And so I just let go of everything and let it go wherever it goes.
And if you would say something about making decisions, these are such big decisions that you're making at this time.
Actually, it didn't seem like a big decision, and I think maybe it was because I um, had been thinking about it for a long, long time, probably right from the beginning, because the very first doctor I saw said he couldn't help me. That was 16 or 17 months ago, and so I fired him and went to somebody else, and she's kept me going for 16 months. So um, then I decided that all through that time that since I felt so well after I got to feeling really well, that I would rather just feel well and live than take chemo and possibly not feel well and not go into remission and live my life on the couch, which I didn't want to do. So I'm living every day as much as I can.
What has been the most helpful to you?
My garden.
Aha.
My I had a master gardener come out and plan the garden, and then my son came up and planted it, and I have been obsessing over it ever since. And it's wonderful. I go out at 5:30 in the morning and pluck the little dead flowers off and have a good time communicating with my plants.
What do you need in the way of support
Oh,
from friends and family?
um, I just need to know that people are there, and if I do need something, that I can pick up the phone and say, could you possibly do this, or do you know somebody who could do this? Um, I think I haven't really asked for much help yet, and so that's kind of a new charted territory that I'm just kind of going into.
If you would talk some of your beliefs about your death and about dying.
Hmm. Well, my beliefs, I think, have changed over the course of time. At first, I was totally okay with it. Um, whatever happens, happens. And then as things really did begin to happen, and I thought, oh, I don't know if I want this to happen now. Um, but then I realized I couldn't do anything about it, so I just kind of went with whatever happens. Whatever happens, happens. I, I don't feel like I have a whole lot of control over what does happen one way or the other.
I know that you had, when you made the decision to stop doing chemo, since chemo wasn't working anyway, I know that you had at that time made the decision that you wanted to investigate physician assisted suicide.
Right.
Would you say a little bit about that?
Yes, I did. I printed out the papers at the very first, way back when, threw them on the shelf and never looked at them for about 6 or 7 months, and then decided I better get those out and see what they are. And it was a pack that was about this high, and I thought, oh no. But it turned out that they are very helpful. A doctor from there called and talked me through the whole thing. This is what you do next, and this is what you do next, and it was very simple. And they were very supportive.
And you had stated that to have that sense of control, whether
Right.
you ever use it or not,
Right.
gave you more peace of mind.
Right. I probably won't use it, but you're right. The little bit of control that it gives is enough to make it worth doing all the work to do it. You know, to get there, whether I use it or not. And apparently, a large percentage of people don't use it. They want it for that control.
Uh-huh.
So,
As you go through this time, and I certainly heard what you stated of making the decision and then having days where it's scary to have made that decision. Say a little bit more both about your hopes for the time and your fears in the time.
my hopes are that I go fast.
Uh-huh.
My fear is that I won't. That lost my train of thought. My fear is that it's going to happen so fast that I won't know that it's happening, which doesn't really make sense, but it does to me somehow inside. That you know, I don't know, the process. What do I want to say? I think the biggest fear is facing when Drew, the original hospice nurse, came out, and I showed her a new spot, and she said, "Yeah, that's a new one," or something like that, and it was like, "Oh no, you know, I changed my mind. I don't want to do this." And then, but it was just like a split second, and I was back to, it's okay. You know, and it never along the way do I remember making some big, huge decision, you know, other than this is the way it has to go. I mean, whatever way it goes, it has to go that way.
It certainly seems as if in the course of the time since you first got diagnosed that you have explored and really worked hard to move into the direction of a remission or healing. And at a certain point, when your tumors kept growing and you could feel them growing and the
Right.
chemo wasn't working, the decision that I'm going to let go of trying to stop this since nothing has worked and
Right.
there's no suggestions about it.
And there's no way, you know, there's nothing to do. I mean, I can make a decision, you know, I don't want to die, but that's not going to help me in the end, necessarily. I don't think. You know, it didn't seem like a big decision. And I know in group, people keep bringing up the fact that I've made some great decision, but I don't feel like I have.
I think that's important because I think sometimes we look at it that way, like you've made a decision to move in this direction of dying rather than to continue a process of trying to live. And when you've been told that there aren't any other treatments that are going to work for you, in a way it's accepting that this is now the course that's open for you.
Right.
And I know you do everything holistically with
I try.
massage and acupuncture and naturopathic support too.
Yeah, I've tried just about everything, I think. I think I've tried everything that Project Quest offers and have.
What are the changes that you've noticed as you've made this shift?
In myself.
Yes.
Um, I've noticed, I maybe have let myself notice more pain than I did before. I think I was denying that there was any at all. And there is quite a bit of bone pain, but I do have medications that I can take for it. So it's not unbearable, and it's certainly a heck of a lot better than chemo overload, that does nothing. So I would rather go this way than just lie in the chair and wait for chemo to do nothing.
And how are you managing the pain?
With medications, morphine and oxycodone and Decadron, and the three of those working together are it's doing the trick. I hardly have any pain at all.
So it seems like it's a special time for you with your family, that your daughters come and others have come to spend time with you. How is that?
It's wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I couldn't do it without them. It means a lot to get support from wherever, but when your own family can step up and give you support, it's really wonderful.
And what is the support that you most especially need?
I think for me it's acknowledging and accepting and understanding where I am and being okay with it. I mean, even if they're not totally okay with it, they're okay with it. Other than not wanting it to happen. But
Well, I believe that people being able to stay present and talk with you and share with you, because sometimes family members get scared and back away.
Yeah.
And get scared of questions.
Kelly has, she's always come forward and asked questions, pertinent questions, and stayed right there. And my youngest daughter kind of does it in a different way. She's more removed, but she's there. She kind of asks from a more distant place. But I think she's I know she's accepting of it, and she acknowledges it.
So it sounds like knowing that your family is accepting of where you are and willing to talk with you about it, that
Right.
they're not backing away, is really important for you.
Right. Yeah. We'll see how it goes in the end, but right now I'm okay with it. I'm sure there'll be times when when there's scary times, and the other day, like, there was, I knew if I if I sat down, I got down there on the patio, and I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I knew if I sat down, that would be the end. So I just kept going, and going and going and going and going, and then finally that passed, and I could sit down. But it was very strange.
Did you have a feeling
That if I stopped moving, my whole body would stop. So I just kept moving.
and that you wouldn't be able to get up again?
Right,
or-
right, yeah.
So you're noticing differences within your body with what
Right,
you can do
right.
and what you can't do.
Every now and then, out of nowhere comes my right arm, and it's like, where did that come from? It's like it came out of nowhere. It's the truth.
That your arms just move differently?
Well, I don't know if it moved differently. It came out of a place where I wouldn't expect it to. But once I realized it was my arm, it was okay.
So there's even different sensations in your body, and sometimes your body just moves, and you're not sure of where it came from.
And there's other times when things look like they're framed,
Uh-huh.
but the frame is getting wider and wider, so it looks like it's getting further away too.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes I feel like I need to back up to fit the frame on the picture onto the frame.
So there's a number of different bodily sensations and ways you see things that are
Right.
different,
Right.
which
Yeah.
certainly might be both
And they'll be
from
different for everybody. You know, everyone probably has their own little process that they go through. You know, that maybe it's their left arm.
uh-huh. But there's changes.
There's changes. Yeah.
Uh-huh. In talking with people, what has been helpful from others around you?
The support that I've been getting in group has been tremendous. I would not have survived this long if I didn't have Project Quest and HEP. I know there's no way that I could do it. And I looked for almost a year for a support group and couldn't find one.
Uh-huh.
And so I was so fortunate when I found, and then I found all these other stuff that came with it. You know, it was like, wow.
The Arquette Cancer Program has a lot of different offerings.
Yes, it's
And
amazing. It was great.
so what has helped you in support group? How has it made such a difference?
For the breast cancer notebook, which is the main group that I attend, there is the what'd you ask me? The major.
How the group has helped
Oh.
you?
It just by my being able to say whatever it is I need to say and have it be okay, you know, because some of the things I say are pretty deep, and this is not. I'm the only one in the group that's in this position, and I didn't know how much they could take, and I didn't know, you know, I had no point where to say, okay, this is enough or this isn't enough, and they seemed to help me say, you know, this is we want to hear it, and we want to support you, and it's worked out really well.
Every woman in your support group, your breast cancer support group, has been willing and wants to be a part of your transition team.
I probably have the largest transition team that anyone's ever had. I think there's something like 25 people that wanted to join it.
Uh-huh.
So it's
And
great.
say a bit about having a transition team and what it means. And
Well, I don't know a whole lot about a transition team. We met a couple of weeks ago, and we're meeting again this coming week to put one together. To what does it comprise of? What types of jobs can people be doing? What are people willing to do? What are people not willing to do? Because I certainly don't want people pushed into something that they're not willing to give out. There are plenty of people to go around for everything.
I think that the willingness of people to be present and to not back away in fear, and it seems in the breast cancer support group like the capacity people have to cry and to feel a lot and to let you know that they don't want you to die, but they'll be with you through thick and thin is pretty important
Very important.
and seems very genuine.
It is. I was surprised. I really was. I knew people would be shocked when they finally heard, but
That it had shifted,
Yeah.
and you were going to be moving into dying and getting hospice, and
right. Once people hear the word hospice, they think it's over, and that really isn't the case, because some people go into hospice and go out of hospice because they're not ready. So I don't know which end I'll be, but
And what has it meant to you in having hospice?
Hospice is wonderful. They provide everything. They provide all my drugs. They provide, if I have to call 911, I call them first and they take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
I call them first no matter what. If I need to call the doctor, they call the doctor. Everything has been taken out of my hands, so they do it, and that's pretty wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah.
That area again of control where you know that there are people who are experienced who can support you and help your loved ones too to be with you, and that they'll know how to take care of you and keep you free from pain.
That's a biggie, yeah, keeping away from the pain. They can keep me pain free, I'll go forever.
That's great.
Yeah, so.
In your own thoughts and beliefs around the dying process, what do you envision? You may not have thought that much about it.
Well, I have done a lot of reading, and one of the books that I have been reading is called Who Dies by Stephen Levine. And I don't know if it's okay to say his name, but he, at the end of his book, he and his wife wrote it, and there are 3 or 4 meditations at the end that explain step by step what they think your body does at the end. You know, this feeling ends now, this other feeling ends now. And it was really helpful because I have no idea, even if it isn't true at all, at least it gives me an idea that something stops and something else starts, so that was really helpful.
So, looking at books and getting an idea that resonates with you, that there is a kind of detachment and change that occurs, and it occurs somewhat naturally, has been helpful.
Yeah. We'll see how natural it is. But so far, there have been no problems. As I said, going to group has been the biggest. It's been the biggest help. It really has.
In my experience, Nancy, of being with people during that time of transition and into their period of death, it has actually had me be much less afraid of dying because it has been a process that has been natural and one that when there are people around supporting you, I believe it helps there be a sense of peacefulness and love that holds you safely through
Well,
as you
I have felt that, yes. And it's so important. It really is. That sense of love and commitment and community. It's just, I can't even think of words that, make it that important. It's, it's great.